Well, hello, Bob Dendry here, and welcome back to Cities Skylines, where we are building the town of Lorikeet Valley. So it's a special Monday night edition of our Cities Skylines series, and that is because there's some new assets that have been announced over the weekend that I wanted to have the chance to go through a little bit of a preview of with you. So, I mean, if you've watched this series at all, you would know that I wax lyrical about the Ryde series of assets and multiple series of assets that have been put out under that brand. And if you follow the Cities Skylines community, you might have noticed that on Saturday night, a new series has been announced, which is specifically aimed towards Australia/New Zealand sort of flavour. I've been lucky enough to actually have had the opportunity to test and to provide some feedback on that. So thank you so much to BlueThunder, who puts together that the series of assets, along with obviously the contributors he works with and the other asset creators that he collaborates with to make these sort of things possible. And thank you for letting in a little tiny content creator like me, who's not even a drop in the water in the grand scheme of things. But basically, the story of this episode is that Ryde, who, as you'd know, the city has had a long-standing commercial relationship, have decided to rebrand in Australia. So obviously it's a multinational transportation brand, and they have decided to split up some of their operations and rebrand some others. So we'll be looking at Metrover today and changing over a lot of our assets we're using to this new branding that they're now using. So I'm really excited to start working on that. So first things first, Ryde have actually, as part of this rebranding, they've also worked with our state government here that looks after Lorikeet Valley, and they basically have put together a jobs plan. They're building a large bus depot, which will hopefully help employ a number of our locals here in Lorikeet Valley. And we have basically given up a little parcel of land over here in our industrial area that will basically make up that bus depot. So first things first, we're going to build that. Unfortunately, at this point, we don't have any rebranded Metrover assets for bus depots, as far as I'm aware. But it still makes sense, I guess, that Ryde is still the corporate brand, and Metrover is what they're going to be operating as for the actual services they run. So let's jump in and start building. Obviously, this is a asset that we're already familiar with. We have already used it in part of our build before, but we're really going to be doubling down on this one, adding a lot of bus parking, stuff like that, so that we can really sort of utilize this as a big center point in our city build here. So I'm going to move this back off the road, because what we're going to be doing is using some parking lots, things like that, to really fluff this up and make it look really cool. I'm actually going to switch over a few of these, wrong direction, to non-functioning car spaces, so we can actually park some buses on them and stuff like that. Okay, so we've got our base building. Obviously, these are assets you've already seen, so should be no surprises here. But now we're going to start having a look at some of our different buses that we have access to. Now, there's a hell of a lot of assets. I'm only going to be using a subset of these because I have an Australian style build. There's both Australian assets and also a lot of New Zealand assets as well, to give flavors to your, your oceanic cities. And so let's start laying down a few props of these buses in our sort of parking area here, so we can have a look at the different ones that we're potentially using. So here's the first bus we're looking at here. So this is a Volgren bus. It is a B8RLE, and have a look at this. Look at this. It's a beautiful livery. I love it. It's very, very Australian style with the, your green and gold. But I'm also getting from this green section here, a very almost like a sort of public transport Victoria vibes from it, like you'd see on trams in Melbourne. And I mean, very high quality livery here. We've got the accurate little giveaway to merging buses. Do not overtake turning vehicle. Looks absolutely brilliant. Massive fan, and I think it looks really cool. Alright, we've got another Volgren here. As you can see, this is a lovely articulated one. So this is the B8RLEA. Very cool. Very cool. Obviously quite a similar sort of build to the one we've just placed, being in the same sort of family of buses, but obviously this one is going to be your higher capacity, so it's going to be great for your very, heavily utilized routes. And we've got another lovely set of Volgrens here. This is the CR228L, being this one to the right here. You've also got the 14-meter variant with obviously a third set of axles. And then over here we've got an articulated variant of the same sort of family of buses. So still all very cool looking. Next up we've got ADL Enviro series. So these are also pretty cool. So we've got here an E200, E200 MMC, E200 XLB, and an E500, and that is going left to right. So once again, very cool. Very cool. So I think we'll probably just start off with this sort of set of buses. We've got enough to give a little bit of a variety to our fleet, while not going overboard, considering our fleet is still fairly small at this point in time. But I'm going to do a little bit of detailing on our bus depot before we go any further. Cool, so we've got our lovely new bus depot under construction. We'll probably do a little bit of detailing along the way, but I'm happy with how it looks right now with this second. Now it's time to start using the Transport Line Manager to set up our existing bus routes with new Trans-Tasman Metrover buses. So we'll pop over onto the public transport UI and we will have a look and see what we can work on here. So head over here. All our bus services are apparently losing money. That is interesting. And what we're going to do here, we're going to set up a new sort of default setting for our bus routes. So with Transport Line Manager, you can set up a sort of a default sort of config of what buses will be used for the routes. So at the moment we've got E200s all around, the Azure ones obviously. We're going to turn those off and we're going to start to switch over to the new Metrover livery. As you can see, I've literally got everything Ryde has ever put out. I may actually start to cut down on some of these because we just don't need to have this many buses, especially considering we're not using all of them, especially like the Kotsu stuff. Like obviously I don't have a Japan themed city, so I'm not going to be using those, but for whatever reason I downloaded the assets. Okay, so here's our Metrovers. So I think we're going to go with a sort of a mixture of E200s and some of our Volgrans. So I've set that up, so that is now the default sort of config for all our lines. If I press this button here, we're going to remove all the models that actually aren't, that were on the line, but were not part of this config we set up. Now, if we go and have a look, we should see that we're now using the new Metrover models, and look at that, lovely. How good is that? We're seeing them all over the city now, which is fantastic. Next thing I want to do is switch over our train lines as well, and this is one I'm really excited about, if I'm honest. So let's have a look. So we've only got one train line now, obviously at the moment, due to changing over the tram, or changing over our second line to a tram. So if we have a look at our setup here, what are we currently using on this one? So what we're going to be switching over to is using Tangaras. Yes, as a long-term resident of Sydney, these are like part of, or were part of my everyday commute for ages, and now I catch the bus more. But let's push the button. Let's get some lovely, lovely Tangaras running on this line. Oh, so keen. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Look at that. Amazing. How good is that? How good is that? Last thing I want to do is switch over our intercity trains to use the new Metrover as well. So, where is our box living? It is here. So what we want to be using for these ones, we want to switch off our velocity, though we might potentially use them down the line. What I want to do, oh, by the way, there is velocity for Metrover is what I meant by that. What I actually want to do is switch over to using 6-car XPTs instead. So let's delete all the non-matching ones, and now we'll have lovely Metrover branded XPTs coming in. Very cool. Very cool indeed. And finally, we just need to do a little bit of a few changes at our Belmont maintenance facilities. So we obviously are going to be moving on these Ryde branded assets here, and we are going to be switching over to some lovely, lovely, and we're going to yeet those ones away. We'll also do the same over at our station here. And we'll instead be installing some new Metrover assets. So we've upgraded our existing sort of props, everything like that, to utilize the new Ryde Metrover assets. So this is a really cool asset series, and I'm excited to see what everyone does with it once it is out in the wild. But I've still got a lot of work to do. I have a lot of detailing I need to do, changing over some of our assets, such as our bus stop signs, things like that, to utilize the brand new Ryde Metrover series. But I hope you've enjoyed this one. Big props to BlueThunder for letting me do this, because I I'm a bit of a simp for Ryde, if I'm honest, and there is actually a Patreon for Ryde. It's not really advertised, but it's there. I'm going to leave a link in the description, and I would encourage you, even more than I already say you should give money to me for my content, you should give money to Ryde more than me, 100%. So please get on there, consider giving some money if you enjoy the Ryde assets. And yeah, thank you so much to BlueThunder for putting this together. Thank you so much to all the collaborators that BlueThunder works with to make these sort of assets possible. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you get a ding to your device the next time I post a video. Special shout out to my Twitch. If you've got Twitch, please get on there and follow. I need 50 followers to monetize my streams, which is a lot lower barrier than you have with YouTube. So consider that. But until next time, I'm Bob Dendry. This is Cities Skylines. Thanks so much for joining me. And until next time, goodbye.